Morning, boys and girls. Saturday morning rant. Just finished working out in the park. Okay, not really working out. I was stretching because it's like 100 fucking degrees in New York. But still got a little sweat on. I'll get a workout in later on, I promise. But in the park, I get to look out onto the streets, and there's always this police car sitting there. I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily, but today they turned the corner, another police car came, and they were trying to park, and I'm just like, what are they doing? Like, why does it seem like police don't know how to park? You know why? Because they wasn't trying to park. They were setting up a roadblock. So they set up this roadblock in the street, and they get out the car. These guys are fat as fuck. He should be in the park working out with me. Instead, he out there setting up these flares, sets up the flares or whatever, and now goes out in the middle of the street, fat boy, with a little light that he's waving, and they pulling people over. And the people they pull over, nine of them, I counted, all people of color. And I know people are gonna be like, well, bro, you live in Harlem. Of course it's all people of color, except Harlem is 50-something% white people these days. Been like that for the last decade. Wouldn't even be able to tell that I live in Harlem if you couldn't find the Apollo on 125th Street. It's a different place, so don't tell me there's no white people for them to pull over. Anyway, they pulling people over, they giving people tickets, they pull a guy over on a bicycle like, hey buddy, you know you ran the red light. So fucking what? Who cares? Like, who cares? Anyway, that got me riled up. Because, and I know you see me waving a ticket. I didn't get a ticket today, but it did make me think of this ticket I got last week, because I do get tickets for like no front license plate. You gotta have a front license plate in New York, but not on this pretty ass car. Nope. Anyway, so I just take the tickets instead of putting the license plate on, because I'm just not fucking up the look of this car. That's my choice. Anyway, so what I wanted to talk about today, though, as always, is the nonprofit bullshit. I want to talk about this. I don't believe in large reentry programs. Like, I know you got some large nonprofits like Red Cross and a Salvation Army that's been around since like Abraham Lincoln. I get that. Like, they provide comprehensive services to lots of people. It's usually like triage, or there's some kind of emergency. I get that. I'm not saying those organizations are not needed and that there's not an economy of scale there, but reentry, I don't know about that. People come home from prison. Some people did a week, some people did a day, some people did 20, 30, 40 years, and you got this cookie cutter ass factory. I used to work at one. I was a senior level executive at one of these reentry organizations. I came in to do advocacy work. I took over fundraising. I took over marketing and communications. I even took over programming at one point, helped grow the organization from 9 million to 20 million. Today they're 60 million. When I was there, they were 88% government funded. And I'm not gonna name them, because y'all know I really don't like doing the cancel thing. So I'm not gonna name this large New York City based reentry program that's been around for a long time that I worked at as an executive. But the staff was making like 30-something grand a year, and the executives were making $250,000 a year. So the staff is making like 1/10 of what the executive leadership is making. I'm not sure that's changed now that they're at 60 million. I would assume if you looked at their 990, because that's where you look to see what's going on at a nonprofit, you'd probably see the same sort of disparity in pay that was there 15 years ago when I was there. Anyway, the point is this, like, they got all these grants from all these foundations, because foundations will give you like $50,000 or $100,000 and tell you, take this money and change the world. Fuck out of here. How are you gonna change the world for $50,000? You can't even pay a full-time salary. If a salaried person in New York is supposed to get paid $58,500 a year, plus fringe and healthcare and whatever, unemployment, all that other stuff, $58,500. So if you're giving me a grant for $50,000, why not just give it to me and like leave me the fuck alone and be like, go out and do? That's what I would do if I could afford to be a philanthropist the way I'd like to be. I mean, last year I gave away more money than I made in my last year working in nonprofit 6 years ago, 5.5 years ago. But still, if I was the kind of philanthropy that could drop 200 grand, 500,000 grand, $1 million on somebody, I would find energetic, thoughtful leaders. Not all leaders of color. I know people think I don't fuck with white people. That's just not even true. But mostly leaders of color, and give them 6-figure gifts, 7-figure gifts, and just tell them, go forth, do good work, and have a drink with me in a year or two and tell me how that shit went. Because you know what? That's what we do for white boys when they start in businesses. Venture capitalists, they come in, they know that they're making a big bet on the leadership. Yeah, they look at the proposed budgets and the proposed expenditures and try to have some sense of how the business is going to play out. But for the most part, they invest in the leadership. We don't do that in nonprofits, especially now that the George Floyd moment has passed and we moved all these black and brown leaders into leadership. Now, foundations are scrutinizing everything. Like, if you want this grant, send us your 990, send us your IRS determination letter, send us your blood sample, send us your firstborn, and we're gonna check in every quarter. You gotta do a report every quarter. And then at a year, you gotta come back and beg us again because we're no longer giving multi-year grants. I remember when I first got into this space and it was mostly white folks running it. They were grants for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5. You could barely find that anymore. Now they got grants for like 6 months. 6 months. By the time I finish writing the proposal and coming to your office to lie to you, to tell you I'm gonna change the world with it, it's time to come back at the end and come back to your office and lie to you again and tell you that I did change the world for your money and that I need a little bit more money. Anyway, folks in philanthropy, if you're listening, like, come on, don't be like the police. Don't be setting up your goddamn checks and only pulling over black people and brown people. Like, fucking, like, change who you are and change what you do. But here's what I do think we should be doing. I think we should be funding small, community-based nonprofits that have some sense of the culture, some sense of the community, mostly run by people who have actually gone through the same things that they're serving. I get that there won't be an economy of scale, but what the fuck? What's an economy of scale? Rikers Island's economy of scale? Like, you had 22,000 people at Rikers once and they still didn't know how to get it right. What's an economy of scale when you're trying to help human beings? When I say to people, what worked for you in life? What made you successful? When I talk to people who made it, they don't say to me, oh, Glenn, it was that program I was in, that group healing program. They don't say it was that your analysis, that your analysis changed my fucking life. They don't say that. They point to some human being. Yo, Glenn, it was that moment when you invited me into your office when I knew you were busy and you still stopped and talked to me and I was only home from prison 3 days. Because that's the stories I got. I got a story of like 4 or 5 people that really invested in me, that helped me to get to where I am today. Because people don't get to where they are alone. Like, everyone helps someone to get to where they are. So why not these smaller nonprofits in communities, low hurdles to them getting resources and letting them serve a smaller number of people that come back to their community and give them the appetite to make mistakes, to get it wrong. That's the other thing. Now that black folks are in philanthropy, as soon as there's a dollar missing, we call it misappropriation of funds. And then suddenly they get pulled aside. They get indicted by progressive nonprofits and progressive philanthropy leaders. They get, suddenly lawyers are engaged. It's the most asinine, hypocritical bullshit I've ever seen. It's really, and then now we're all doing these healing moments. Great. I know people who do amazing healing work. I think there's value in it. But if you're excluding people from the room, if you're the funder funding the healing work and you're telling them who can be in the room and who can't, that's some bullshit. I had somebody describe me the other day as divisive, or I forgot the word that they used. They were like controversial, I think it was. I mean, first of all, y'all know I don't give a fuck anymore. I literally have built my life to be able to say what I want to say. And when you say what you want to say, you suddenly become controversial. But that's really white elitist speak for like, that nigga won't do what we asking him to do. That ain't the nigga we need around no more. That ain't the poster child brother that we want. You go from pet to threat. And so fund people, let them do amazing work. You won't need all this goddamn healing work if you weren't being so fucking punitive. Don't replicate the goddamn criminal justice system that you say you hate so much and that you're here to be able to invest to do something about. And then suddenly you're showing up no different than the very system that you say that you want to dismantle. Fuck out of here. People barely even mention the movie 13th anymore. George Floyd moment has passed. Anyway, ain't nobody painting street murals. Why y'all ain't painting street murals anymore? Anyway, it's Saturday, and I like to let this out because I like to go off and enjoy my weekend. You know, So I feel like I got this out the way, and I always like to leave you with something positive. And you know what I'm gonna say? Don't let no motherfucker steal your rainbow, because they will try to steal your rainbow. Hold on to the goodness in your heart. Hold on to the good work you wanna do. And even when I'm being critical, I never criticize everything that's out there and that's available. I'm just being critical to see what I can do, what little contribution I can make to move the field forward, because I try to make contributions. There's not always a good return on investment with those contributions, but whatever. I'm gonna keep making them, even if I'm making them from a different vantage point. Anyway, have a great Saturday. Don't let anybody steal your rainbow. Peace.